I'm excited for this video. I'm excited because something happened this past Tuesday, and it was the beginning of something great. And I want to explain how I got there. I've been going to my church probably about 5-6 years. And lately, I would say this year, I've been serving at my church. If you guys are connected to a church, I highly recommend serving at your church. If you're not connected at a church, I highly recommend connecting to a church. The reason why I believe because I don't know the specific reason. A lot of people come up to me and they're saying, hey, you've been going to Grace, which is the church I go to, for quite some time. Why haven't you been serving when you first started? And I tell them, God was molding me. God was making sure that I was mature in my faith. He wanted to make sure that when he sent me out to serve his people, that I had an answer for any question that they would come up to me, not only with it comes to the church, but if they came up to me and asked me questions about the Bible, about faith. And it took some years. And this year, God was like, this is the time to serve. So I've been serving. And in doing so, I'll probably do a separate video on serving, but in this same year, I decided to join our church's men's group. Bunch of men, about 50 to 100 men given on the night, going there, learning about how to become men of God. And it's in a small group setting. So there's about 50 to 100 people, but they break that 50 to 100 people into little groups called small groups. And I joined a small group in the beginning of this year, and the amount of spiritual fulfillment, the amount of wisdom, the amount of friendships, the amount of relationships, the amount of God slowly working in me through these men, through these messages, through showing up every Tuesday night at 7. I can't even explain in words the amount of gratitude I have for the small group and the men's group that I go to on Tuesdays. So in the beginning of the year, I was going, and it was in the middle of a series that they were doing. And I met some friends. I met my group leader, met some other people. And I just kept on showing up every Tuesday at 7, just kept on showing up. And I was learning. I was gaining friendships. I was deepening friendships and relationships. And things were happening during my life. But I knew that God called me to the men's group on Tuesdays at 7. And I knew that I will always put God first. And so no matter what I was doing on Tuesday, around 6:30 or 8, I knew I was going to be at the men's group at 7. Kept on going consistent, kept on going every Tuesday. That was around I think March, April. The semester ended and they were going into, I guess they were trying this out for the first time, a summer semester. It wasn't consistent, it wasn't every Tuesday, but they will say, hey, we'll do consistently 3 weeks, and then we'll do a week or two off, and then go back in 2 weeks. But as long as I was getting the invite to go, and they were saying they were going to be there at Tuesday at 7, I was going to be there, even in the summer. Okay, summer comes in, I'm still consistent. And then we're going into the fall, and the new semester was joining. And around a month in, of the new semester that I've joined of the men's group, my group leader pulls me aside and he was like, "Hey, Berto, one, I want to say thank you for your friendship. I want to thank you for continuing to come consistently, and I trust you. Later in this semester, the fall semester, I won't be able to be your group leader for like half of it. And I'm coming to you right now because I want you to step in as the group leader while I'm gone." And I was like, whoa, I felt honored. I felt honored that he looked at me that way, that he trusted me. And he has so much confidence in me. I was like, of course, but if you don't mind him telling me this, I was like, can we pray about it? I was like, I always want to invite the Lord in. I want to make sure that I'm doing things that the Lord wants me to do. So we prayed about it, and it was an amazing prayer. We were just basically asking for God's will, God's confirmation, and the steps that he has for me to become a leader. Around 2-3 weeks, we get confirmation. Our men's group coordinator, pastor, approves it. And my group leader goes to his new class on Tuesdays, and I step in as a leader. And I was super excited. And the first men's group with as me as a leader, not a coincidence, my best friend who occasionally comes to the men's group with me is the only one there. It was just me and him. And we catch up, we talk like we always do. And we just allowed God to move in that space. I was grateful that it was just him, but I was also a little bummed out that other people didn't come. Then the next Tuesday comes, and my best friend doesn't come, but one other person comes. Next Tuesday comes, that same person that came the following Tuesday is still there, but my best friend's not coming. And I'm just a little disappointed. I'm like, I'm a men's group leader now. Like, I want all these people. I want to lead in so many ways. But I knew what got me into becoming a leader was just showing up when God wanted me to show up. So I just kept on showing up, no matter how many people were there in that group. I just kept on showing up. Then a new person came, and I could get at his vibe. I was like, whoa, like he likes basketball. He's a little bit older than me, but he's cool. I like the way like he's vulnerable. He's a man of God. And then he was coming, and he keeps on coming. Then another new person came this past men's group. So I have 4 people now. I went from one person for a while to then 4 people, and I was just but what stayed consistent was I kept on showing up when I needed to. And that same Tuesday where the new person came, the 4th person, God allowed me to, what they do in our men's group is called sometimes, it doesn't happen often, but some Tuesdays there will be a gentleman, a man who wants to speak at the Victory Minute. And the Victory Minute is a segment towards the end of the men's group day where that person goes up and explains how God is moving in their life and the wins, the victories. And the prior Tuesday, so this past Tuesday, I spoke at the Victory Minute. But the prior Tuesday before the Victory Minute, it was an off-campus meeting. An off-campus meeting is like we're not meeting where we usually meet. We're going to text our group members and see how we can meet somewhere else. Probably a restaurant, coffee shop. I'm texting my group members and only one person responds. Or one person can make it. That same person that keeps going. And I was like, hey, let's go to BJ's. They have, $3 Pizookies on Tuesdays. We go. And we end up combining me and him with another group that was there from the men's group. So it ended up just not just being me and him. It ended up being like 6 or 7 people, which was amazing. And the conversations I was having with the other group members, was telling them how God was working in my life. And one of the gentlemen was like, hey, you should talk about that in the Victory Minute next week. I was like, okay, sign me up. That following week comes that Monday. They're like, hey, are you still down for the Victory Minute? I was like, yeah, of course. I always say yes to the Lord. I always say, here I am, no matter how I feel. There were so many Tuesdays. There were so many moments where I felt disappointed or I felt discouraged to even show up. But I am committed to the Lord. I'm always going to put him first. I'm always going to put him center of my life. No matter how I feel, he wants me there on Tuesdays at 7. I'm going to be there. And he called me and he was like, hey, I need you to speak in the Victory Minute. This past Tuesday comes. It's my turn to do the Victory Minute. And I'm a little nervous because, like I'm doing here, what I want to continue and what God called me to do is to speak, especially in front of people. And I'm realizing that this is the first time I get to do that. There was around 60 to 75 people in the auditorium where we do the men's group. But still faithful to be a leader. Well, I'm called to be a leader during the men's group. We're still doing our normal message. I'm still pouring into people. People are pouring into me in my group, and the men's group is about to end, and that's when the Victory Minute is about to start. And our pastor is like, "Hey, we have a great Victory Minute." And a little side note: it's very important to speak life, especially when it comes to other people. My pastor didn't know that it was going to be, maybe he did. Maybe the Lord told him that it was going to be a great Victory Minute. But he spoke that life and he said, this is going to be a great Victory Minute. I'm going up to the stage and I see him. He has the mic in his hand. And it was like time was just slowing down. I see him. I'm nervous. I grabbed the mic. It felt a little light. I was like, why is it? I thought it was going to be heavier. It felt a little light. And I wanted to make sure that I was looking at people. I wasn't just going to look towards the mic or look down. I wanted to make sure that I was. And I just start pouring out how God is moving in my life. How God is moving in other people around me. How just with patience and just waiting, if you just allow God to do his thing at the right time, you'll see his victory. You'll see in your life how he's moving. Just pouring out. And I joked around. I was like, this is going to be a Victory 2 minutes because I'm going to go in on how God's moving in my life. And who I am, I'm always trying to preach. I'm always trying to speak. And this is an opportunity that God has presented to me to speak. So of course I'm going to preach a little bit. Start preaching a little bit. At the end of the Victory Minute, Victory 2 minutes, I get a standing ovation. People are clapping and people are standing. I was like, what is going on? I'm just, as I'm going back to my table at my group, people are fist pumping me. They're giving high-fiving me. I felt like I won a game. I sit down and I one's grateful, but I also have a responsibility as a leader. And we usually end the group with a prayer before the Victory Minute, but we weren't able to do that. So I go back and I tell my group members, thank you for staying. I was like, but I still want to and have to pray for you guys because you guys requested some prayer. So I ended the night with the prayer. And I was in my car just super ecstatic, feeling all this gratitude, and felt like this is the start of something amazing. My speaking journey, how I can speak in front of people and just allow God to use me as a servant, as a vessel to preach his wisdom, to preach his word, the good news, how he loves everybody. And it all, that day could not have happened if I was inconsistent with God. If I didn't put God first. If he told me to be there at Tuesdays at 7, I had to be there Tuesdays at 7. Months. We go from April to all the way to November. Months. I didn't know at the time. At the time, all I knew, I had to be there at 7 at Tuesdays, the next Tuesday, next Tuesday. I didn't know it was going to lead up to me becoming a leader and speaking. But I did know that God called me to do this specific thing. And this leads me to this verse in Matthew 25, verse 21. The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount. So now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. God has many opportunities in front of me only because I was faithful with the small amount. My responsibility was to show up on Tuesdays at 7. I took that and I was like, this is what I have to do. God might be telling you to just pick one thing. He might have already told you what that one thing is. It could be just watching the service. It could be just reading one verse, one chapter of the Bible. It could be just listening to worship music. It could be going to help your family, your older grandparents, your older parents. It could be going to the baseball game for your kids. It could be just going to doing homework with your kids. It could just be cooking one meal a week. Pray about it and ask God, what are you calling me to be faithful with that small amount? When he answers, make sure that your heart, your mind, your soul is committed to the Lord. He's not asking you to do much. He said, this is a small amount. That's all he's asking, this small amount. Use that small amount and show God how faithful you are to him because you love him. And he's going to show you how faithful he is with how much you love him. And he's going to bring opportunities in front of you that you never thought was possible because you weren't thinking about these opportunities. All you were thinking about was being faithful with the small amount. And you are going to experience his grace, his miracle power, and him. It may be small to you, but trust that God knows everything. This brings me to Proverbs 3, 5 through 6. It's a famous verse, but it is so much to unpack and so much to believe in. It's so simple. Sometimes the enemy is trying to distract us from a simple answer. If you are feeling like the Lord, our God, is far from you, that you feel lost, that you feel like life is going against you, you're being distracted. Proverbs 3, 5 through 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. Your focus should revolve around Jesus. Your mind should revolve around Jesus. It's so simple. He will make your path straight. He will show you which path to take. He will show you that. That's what he said. He promised it. He will show you which path to take. But you have to trust that you focusing on the Lord that you focusing on just the small amount of responsibility that he's asking you to do is going to lead to that path that is straight. It's going to lead to the path that you should take. It all becomes to trusting in the one who created the path, the one who created the opportunity, the one who created you. He just wants to see how faithful you are. He's not requiring much. He's calling a small amount, small amount. Say yes because it is God asking. Think about the instruction that he's going to give you or that he already gave you. It's coming from God. He knows that you can handle it. He knows it's not a lot, it's not overbearing. He knows what's going to happen at the end of your faithfulness. He didn't instruct you to do something just because. He starts something and finishes it. You're going to be a new person. Your character, what makes you you, is probably going to be revealed. Your calling, your vision. You're going to be stepping into places that you didn't think was possible just because you were just faithful with the little amount that he instructed you to do. It can be hard. Like I said, there was Tuesdays that I didn't want to go. There was days where I didn't feel like pouring into someone. I needed someone to pour into me. I love God way more than that. I love God way more than my feelings. I love God way more than my preferences. I love God way more than convenience. I just love God. My mind, my soul, my body, everything that makes me me loves God so much that I just move because it's God telling me to move. In James 1:3-4, it says, For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. These gracious opportunities to be faithful, to endure the long journey. At the end of that, you will need nothing. Don't you want to need nothing? That you have everything that you could ever ask for and more? You just got to endure. You just got to think, this is what God wants for me. He wants me to not need nothing. But I have to show him that I'm faithful to him, that I love him more than anything else in this world. When it's time, you will know what to do because God prepared you. All those little small things you said yes to was preparing you for the moment you had to step up to the plate. When it's time. That moment where you're not needing nothing. That moment when that journey feels like it's towards the end. And God is placing you in that room. God is placing you in that opportunity. God is giving you your calling, your vision. You're stepping into it. All those little small things that God was testing you with to be faithful with prepared you for that make it or break it moment. He was with you in the small things. He's going to be with you in that moment. Trust and believe that. I love you. I'm so grateful for you guys. And I'm seeing God move in my life, and I know He's going to be moving in your lives. Great is His faithfulness. He loves you guys so much. You guys cannot understand a single thing that I said. Just know that He is for you, not against you. All those things that are happening in your life is happening for you. Switch your perspective to believe that. I love you. I love you. I love you. And thank you guys. I'm very grateful for every single person who's listening to this, watching this, trying to understand, trying to implement anything that I'm saying. Most importantly, thank you, Lord, for instructing me, for not leaving my side, and for preparing me for what you have called me to do. Peace, and the Prince of Peace is with you.